All right, I'd like to welcome you all here today to the first ever Bot War pod and video cast. My name's Mark, and I'm joined today by Anthony, Bjorn, and Stuart. We're going to talk all things Bot War tonight. I'm going to throw across shortly to Anthony to talk us about what's coming up and what's new. But we're hoping that you'll get a genuine appreciation and understanding and find out a lot more about Bot War and get more enthusiastic about playing it out there. So to start off, we're going to just talk a little bit about a range of different things that are coming up at the moment and what's new for Bot War. And I thought we'd get started by having Anthony tell us a little bit about Green Spectres.
Well, thanks for the intro, Mark, but we probably should tell people that this is new and that this is the first one that we're doing, and that if something happens, it's because it's new and we haven't done it before.
And so process.
Yeah, that's right. I'm already sweating just from the pre-recording intro sort of stuff that we did. So yeah. But oh mate, you put me on a spot. I wasn't expecting. I think everybody knows that Green Spectres are out and that they're part of the new Valiant battle group faction guides that are coming out. And this is they're basically a way of just breathing new life into the Valiant faction, which I felt was a little too watered down. And actually, Bjorn is a good one to ask about this because it's Bjorn and his mate Justin's feedback that drove a lot of why the battle groups came about, because they had some really legit feedback about how it was hard to get Valiants on the table and that new players were struggling with having so many models and what they did, etc. So the faction guides are really about that. But the Green Spectres are going to be tricky, I think. Tricky to play. Unless you're that way inclined.
Yeah, I think we've all had a chance to have a look here, and I'm sort of curious because Bjorn sort of helped to start this off. What do you think, Bjorn? I mean,
I haven't actually looked. I haven't seen what's going on so much with the Green Spectres. I know some bits and pieces, but I think breaking the Valiants up means that you're not getting a lot of those models that are very similar to each other, and then like they're just not getting used, they're not getting played, kind of thing. Breaking them up like this and giving each battle group its own flavor is going to make people want to collect the whole range of Valiants, and you'll see far more of them getting used, which I think makes it a bit more exciting. Often with like these big factions, there'll be a small group of miniatures that gets played constantly, kind of thing. Like I would do the same, because when I played Valiants, I always had a favorite list, and it was always Ducal, Black Ops, some of the small guys, and Sucker Punch, and that was basically the core of it. And I just moved a few bits and pieces around in and out. So having the battle groups have these different flavors like Red Cannoneers and everything, I think will be a really great one for new players. It's probably a bit more of an easy one to play with, and I think that's like a friend of ours, which is what started this. A friend of ours bought one of the Valiant boxes, and he really struggled to sort of know what they do. They didn't have a really strong sort of theme to them as to how they play, and he really struggled with that for some reason, and didn't enjoy it so much. And I think that now doing it like this is just going to make a lot more interest in the Valiants, I think. So it's quite exciting to see that happening.
Yeah, I think the Green Spectres being sneaky and getting around the table and doing things like that will create a new faction that's different to what we've seen before, and will play very differently, and will attract players to it for that reason. Stuart, what do you think?
I think of... Oh, sorry, Stuart.
Sorry, my apologies. No, Bjorn, you please finish.
I was just going to say, I think of what I know of all the different battle groups for the Valiants, the Spectres are probably the one that interests me the most, because they do seem like they're probably more difficult one to play, and I like the idea of that sort of like starting off further down the table kind of thing. It makes it a bit more interesting.
Excellent. And Stuart, what do you reckon?
I think I like the idea of having these little battle groups set out. So you have like a very codified sort of way of doing your color schemes as well. So you can really define what, your battle force looks like. I mean, personally, I like having a variety of the different colors of Valiants, and that's how I've done mine, very similar to the original artwork. But the idea of being able to group them together and have like a sub faction almost within the broader sort of Valiants, I think is a great idea. Red Cannoneers were quite nice. I liked working on them, and I've looked at the
yes, Stu painted the Red Cannoneers for a lot of the Red Cannoneers for me. So yeah, no, brilliant job. Sorry to interject.
And can I say, Anthony played them extremely well on the weekend, and they wiped. They look great. But yeah, plays again. Red Cannoneers are great because they just play. They're really good at long range and excellent at taking things out, particularly heavy caliber guns. Anthony.
Yeah, so the Green Spectres are a strange one. They're probably not they might be Bjorn's type of list, but not really my type of list, because Red Cannoneers my type of list. It's like a point and click. That's what you do with Red Cannoneers. Just point and click. And whereas Green Spectres, you need to actually engage the brain. And I think potentially the Green Spectres are a lot more powerful because they have a slight skew to close combat, but not trasher level close combat. So they're not damage output as such, more in fact, I don't think they have a combat axe or anything at all in any of them, but they do have like combat scimitars, a few of those. So they are skewed slightly to a close attack. Plus, they have advanced deployment, and then you can deploy up to half of your models, like I think 18 inches, halfway up the board. I just can't remember straight off the top of my head. But they also mess with your strategy rating a little bit, so they can sort of like they almost get like a free strategist every turn. So if you're clever, then you know which ones that you want to activate first. So it's sort of board wide as well. So you can just choose any model at the start of the turn, and that goes down 3 things in your strategy rating, or up 3 things in your strategy rating. So that's like a very, very powerful effect, but you do need to actually be able to use your brain to work out, well, who do I need to move up and who do I need to move down the strategy rating order. So I don't know if you knew that, Bjorn. Did you?
Yeah, I knew that they had the strategy rating changing it, the free strategist, which is it's funny because Beast Lords were one of the first factions I got, and Stegris has strategist. I've never used it because no, because it's just like, do I use the energy cube for that, or do I, maintain armored might, go forth and hit something?
This is free.
Yeah, I know. In this case, it's free. But yeah, with the Beast Lords, so it's like something I've just never had a chance to use. So to me, I quite like the fact that they have a free one. I think that makes it quite interesting.
Absolutely. And look, talking about other new stuff, I know that Anthony's also just brought out some objective markers, and I think they're going to make it great for tournament play. And I'd probably like to have a bit of a chat about that too. I'm going to throw it and talk it through because we played some on the weekend, and they were great to play, and they'll make great tournament play. So Anthony, tell us about the strategy markers.
I just that was Cornelius's idea, actually, because he's all into he has all these other models and things like that he uses for various things. And I said, I could make some of those. But I think the real reason for those is just trying to work on some tournament scenarios. So that's the real reason why those things are out, is because it's just about getting my head into that place to try and get some tournament scenarios, because I do want to have a tournament pack by mid-year. So yeah. I actually like the little barrels.
Are you looking to have those within a tournament pack?
Maybe, but it's more like just getting your head into it. Like if you make a sort of few molds, you're sort of gearing, you're thinking about all the time and stuff like that. Sometimes it's easy to just get your head into it. But I don't really know anything about the tournament pack yet at all. Like I'm still trying ideas. We tried an idea in the game with Mark on the weekend where we used the ammo counters, that if you were in possession of that, you got a sharpshooter.
Yep.
And we didn't use the killing of models to determine any victory points. You only use the killing of models once it's equal on the objective side of things. Yep. So I just really trying to work out what's creating the greatest incentive, because I want the objective play first, but I don't want to totally discount destroying of other models, Mm-hmm. But I'd rather, I think at this stage, I'm sort of leaning towards the destroying of other models being the tiebreaker type of thing. If there's a tied thing, then that starts to count.
Yeah.
So, but encouraging, and I think the fuel dump was still the get a energy.
Continuous energy. It never actually left the
board. It was like the last one on the ruby crystals. You just keep getting the energy by having the fuel dump. So there was one fuel dump and 2 ammo dumps. So,
and what I found particularly interesting was with my small Coils force, instead of leaving Conspiracy on the back line to try and shoot Anthony as he was moving around, I had to move it forward to engage it in play. Because if I didn't, I couldn't collect the objective markers because he was scoring points for the round. And so it does tend to encourage more of that, get in and play. It'll probably work really well for melee fighters like your trashers and overlords and the like.
Green Spectres are going to kill that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of scouts will deploy on that, and you're always going to be playing catch up. So, yeah, that's another reason why Green Spectres are going to be pretty nasty, I think.
So it changes the game. It obviously depends on what objectives you're playing, but I think it's a really good move. Any other thoughts on objective markers?
No.
Wait to see them in play. Look, we've got some other news too. Obviously, Anthony's in the pipeline of what's coming up. Anthony, do you want to make mention of some things?
Well, I just wanted to give a very quick shout out because I'd like to move on to Coils, but a very quick shout out to the big one that's coming up 1st of May, which is the new Dynaborgs. So I've been writing their cards.
I think we've got one on the screen there now being staggered.
Yeah, so I've been writing their stat cards at the moment, and it is a little bit bold that I'm bringing the red energy into a core faction. So at the moment, I'm just going through those cards and just seeing how it's going to balance out. Red energy works a little bit different for Bjorn. So for those who don't know, the red energy in the red star cards is going to work a little bit different in the sense that you won't be able to boost ranged attacks with it, but you will be able to boost shields or close attacks and get a reroll.
Okay.
So if you use red energy, it gives you a reroll if you boost with it as well.
Yep.
So
it's all about managing your energy and what you're going to use for what.
Yeah. So it's just at this stage, it's going to be difficult if too many have it. It's going to be difficult to get rid of the red energy. Like you can still use it to move and stuff like that. You just can't use it to boost ranged attacks. So yeah. But it's going to make the Dynaborgs a little bit more resilient and a little bit more brutal in close attack because they're just getting essentially a free pugilist And a I guess a free. What's the reroll shield? I can't remember now. I can't remember what the rerolled shield is. There is lucky. I can't remember if there was any others. If there's one where you just roll one dice, but yeah. So they'll just be a bit more resilient and a bit more hitty. But yeah, their ranged attacks are still pretty nasty actually. But they're slow. The Dynaborgs are going to be slow.
Well, they are giant dinosaurs, so they probably should be. They probably should be slow.
Yeah, and back in the 80s, they were cold-blooded. Remember?
What was the motivation behind redesigning a lot of the Red Star? Was it just that it was one of your older lines?
Yeah,
so you just felt like it was time for it? Because, like, looking at the old miniatures, there's nothing like you wouldn't look at them and go, oh, they're old, they don't fit in with the line sort of thing going forward. So was it just that you felt like it was time for them?
Yeah, part of it is because I wanted all the core range to have a box set in resin.
Yeah.
And then when you ask yourself, well, do I make the existing models resin or do I make new models resin? Well, I may as well make new models resin and sort of uniform the range a little bit.
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't like was that the Bronteborg wasn't scary enough.
Yeah.
So Bronteborg is a Titan now. So he's 14 centimeters long.
Okay.
So that's as long as Conspiracy is tall.
Yeah, he's as long as he is tall, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just each faction I just want to have like a bit of a centerpiece model, and I felt the Dynaborgs weren't uniform themey enough.
Mm-hmm.
So but apart from that, there was really no, apart from OCD and having to have the 10 core factions in a box with the resin, that's really the only reason as such. I wasn't 100% pleased with their play style either. So that's the thing that tipped it, because I actually had sent the old designs to quote for resin, and they come back and I was like, oh no, I really don't think the rules are great on them either. They're not dinosaur-y enough.
Yeah.
So
well, it's that's really why. Space at the moment.
Sorry, that's not a good reason. I just
no. To be honest, you don't need a reason. You just can say I really wanted to, and that would be fine.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Sorry.
They'll look really impressive, and I know we'll be talking about them in the future, but it's just a nice shout out to just sort of make people aware that there's coming down the line, and there'll be an exciting product development. We also have a community spotlight that we'd like to share with you all. Just a few of the Facebook posts that have come up. We have a number of different posts that we've got here. I believe everybody can see Judd's work here on Electro Tyrant's Army. Stuart, what do you think?
I think these are fantastic. He's done such a good job with the paints here. Like I like how he's kept it quite close to the the official color schemes, but there's just a little bit of a difference there. It looks fantastic, very crisp.
It is.
I'd like to know whether or not he's done like because I think he did contrast paint. I'd like to know what his mixtures were, because he's got it pretty close to what I've done for Electro Tyrants, and I use an airbrush. So if I could do it quicker.
I think they're fantastic, and they look great on the table.
The reason I had picked this one, Mark, we should clarify that each of us picked a favourite for this month. And this one was the favourite I picked. And not that there wasn't a lot of favourites, it's just the one that sort of stood out for me. What I love about this is he actually hasn't used any sort of main Electro Tyrant models. He's used the drone bots, and so all his drones look slightly different based on the metal drone bots. And he's used the resin Electro Tyrant as well. So that's why it sort of looks a bit unique in that sense. That's what I liked about it. All the drones using all the metal drone bots. One of those drone bots is just weird. It sort of looks like it's got a giant nose, which is like weird.
Yeah, that's this guy over here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's just when I was painting that, I was just like, what is that? But yeah, okay.
I think they look great. And then we've got this second photo here, Richard Willett with his Overlords and his Atlanticans. A great picture. Stuart, what do you reckon?
Fabulous. I was watching this with the because he was doing this in the painting challenge during February, if I remember right. And it's the difference between the different colors. So the really nice striking green, and then that kind of bright lemony yellow. It works really well. And yeah, it's just a really nice color scheme. Very crisp, nice fine lines as well. Nice edging on his paint job. A really great job on these.
I like the reversed colors on the Overlord.
Mm-hmm.
The green brain with the pinky tentacles rather than the other way around. Yeah, I mean, I picked this image, and besides the fact that the paint job is extremely nice, I like seeing the contrast between the different sized units with the infantry. You know, you've got a couple of big bots up the back, you've got some flying units, you've got the tanks, and then you've got the Overlords, the big monsters on the other side. I liked it. That's one of the things I really like about the game, is seeing the contrast in the size of the different units.
Yeah, because you can see.
Yeah, it actually shows that quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the things I've always quite liked about micro, scale games, and this is N gauge, N scale, yes. Roughly.
Yes, it would roughly be, yeah.
I like that, like you said, like the being able to see the scale down from infantry all the way up. It gives a good gauge of just how big these bots actually are, and then when you stick conspiracy next to it.
And that's the thing about a game with this sort of scale, is also that then with your board and your terrain, it makes it seem more grand, kind of thing. Like, when you're playing like a 28 or 32 mil game, like, you can't get buildings that are real proper size buildings. It doesn't fit on your board properly, and then it just doesn't look right. This way you have you can have big buildings on your board that and it makes it all look really nicely themed.
Absolutely thematic. It looks great. Welcome back, guys, to part 2 of the Bot War pod and video cast for its inaugural session. Again, I'm joined by Bjorn, Anthony, and Stuart, and we're talking all things Bot War. In this second phase of our segment, we'd like to really start focusing now on honing in on a particular faction. And the faction we've chosen to have a look at this week is Coils, previously Snake Corp. And I thought I'd throw it to the forum to have a chat. I know that we've got several battle reports of these online. And I look forward to talking about that. Certainly, Anthony took out my Coils force on the weekend. But look, they've got some strengths and weaknesses, but ultimately they'd like to help humanity in their own special way. As long as that meant that they were in charge. But anyway, I'll throw across to Anthony, and we're going to throw up some pictures of some wonderful Coils forces to have a little bit of a talk about.
Oh, me first?
Yes, totally.
What do you want to know from me? Like, how?
Tell us about Coils. What was your vision for Coils?
Oh, actually, funnily enough, Coils was one of those forces, because all of the forces originally their background was from the 80s, the background itself and all the stories and stuff from the 80s. But Coils is not. Coils is sort of like, I don't want to get this podcast banned or anything like that, but Coils is about all the current crazy sort of, hidden corporation groups and all that sort of nonsense. That's who they represent, the sort of hidden, shadowy cabal of people behind all the scenes. So that's really where their background came from, and I wanted a faction that was like the worst of humanity, like the actual worst of humanity. Like everything about them was the worst, and to me it was about like a level of arrogance that they think they are like the top, I don't know, gods or whatever. So yeah, that's where the actual background of them came from. The style of the tanks are just all like, to me, it's just all sort of very black and a bit crazy because they've been dealing with black market technology for a long time.
Look, I got to say they are fun to play. Stuart, what are your thoughts? Let's throw the ball.
Sorry, me or
you want me to talk about Coils?
What are your thoughts, Bjorn?
I mean, Coils probably the faction I've played the most. I think that they're the mark of where like you kind of want all the factions to be as far as power goes. Like they're strong enough to be quite a good force, but they're not like, ridiculously gonna always win with them kind of thing. I really like because I like the idea of having the different sized units and everything. Coils I found really appealing, and I pretty much always run in my groups. I always run infantry with vehicles and some bots. I don't often run conspiracy. I have a couple of times, but we were always playing 80-point games. Conspiracy is very difficult to run in an 80-point game, and like be able to do any objectives. But I enjoy their game, the way that they play. I'm a big fan of Blast. I really like Blast. And I always find Blast very amusing when you get stuck in the point where you have to gang up on people and you're damaging all your gang up units with the Blast every time you hit the opponent with Blast, which is very annoying, but I find it very amusing to do.
That sounds
I have actually KO'd some of my own units via taking damage from Blast of my own guys. So
that sounds like a very Coils executive thing to do.
Yeah, that's what I figure. They don't care who's getting hurt. They just, as long as they achieve the objective, it doesn't matter who gets hurt along the way.
That's right. So, yeah.
I really enjoy that about them. They're also like one of the I haven't painted the entire faction, but they're like the most I've painted out of anything. I've really enjoyed playing with them. They're and also I play a lot of games against someone playing like Special Branch, and he's normally the toughest person in our group in every game to play. And Coils has been the only time that I've won games against him. So therefore they have a soft spot for me now. So I'd like, have you painted the Coil units, Stuart?
Yes, yeah. So I've painted a selection for myself, just the stuff from the core set. So I've got a set of those painted up, and I did the majority of the studio models, I think. Apart from
everything but the core set.
Everything but
the infantry.
And the infantry. So yeah, I've painted quite a few Coils. They're very interesting to paint. Very interesting to paint.
A lot of black.
Yeah. That's
I stayed away from black.
Well, when
mine are purple and teal. So
That's such a good idea. That's kind of what I wanted to do for mine. I wish I had gone with like a purple and red color
yeah,
scheme.
I've got like
But I
they're
went,
like a dark purple with like the teal, sort of bright teal, like highlight bits on them.
yeah, that's such a good
And
idea.
I've used pink for all of the like the glass kind of
Yeah,
stuff on everything.
yeah. I
So
think I've seen your stuff on the group. Yeah, it looks great.
yeah, I did all my Coils stuff for last year's painting
Mhm.
competition. So yeah.
Yeah, they're good. They're good to paint. They're very nice to paint. A lot of sharp lines, which I quite like, because if you get those sharp lines good, it just makes them pop really nicely. I did find them quite difficult to play to start off with. For the first time I tried the game, obviously with the core set, I thought, these will
Yeah.
be all right, Look like it's got nice big guns, and I just got absolutely wiped the first time. I just didn't realize how the how the special rules interacted. But then I kind of figured it out and thought, these could actually be quite a bit sneakier.
Yeah.
So putting things like core drill and mine shaft, I was like, nope, you're off in tunneler. You'll pop up later.
Yeah.
I think they're only.
Yeah.
I think the only way
those
to
guys have
take down
always saved me
Jukel.
tunneling. Sorry, Anthony, you go.
I think the only way to take down Jukel in the starter is a gang up with core drill and mine shaft and a couple of the others.
Fork ton or something.
Yeah, whoever can get, like, I just find it easiest to get the two little guys in because they can host and Shogun can fly. So yeah, but it's still dicey. You still got to get some good rolls in.
Yeah,
but
I just tried to keep away from him. Just keep away. Put the stick on the objectives. Nope,
Stay away
you
from
stay
Jagal.
over there, mate.
Yeah.
But
the tunnelers often save me. I find them really good against anyone that's running artillery. Because
yes.
quite often they'll set up their artillery piece down in the back line, and they'll kind of move the rest of their units forward, and you just pop your guys up behind. Because I think it's mineshaft and
core drill.
there's one that's SR1 and one that's like SR3, and then you pop a because there's the little bot mineshaft, then there's the vehicle one.
tunneler.
The vehicle one's SR1.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I cannot think of his name right now. Mole.
Yeah, Mole. Yeah.
So I send Mole and mineshaft, and I stick a Coils guard inside of Mole, and they pop up in the back line behind like an artillery, and often they'll get to both activate before the artillery quite often. So you go in with Mole, just do an attack. It's never particularly good. I think he's got like 1 dice or something. Then you go in with mineshaft, and he gets the buddy gang up. Then you drop out your Coils guard and go in with him, and he gets the 2 buddy gang up bonus. So I find that's saved me a lot of times against the artillery pieces.
That stack up in combat is like quite handy. Like, you can just watch dice just stack up.
Yeah, it makes like, because none of them are particularly like strong, but when you have all 3 of them come in, and they're not even using ram attacks or anything, they're literally just moving in and doing 1 single attack, but getting those extra dice on each one of them each time, like, makes them quite powerful as a group.
Yeah, and if you think about the points, they're not a lot of points. So for the amount of combat dice that you're pouring out.
I think one's 4 points, one's 5 points, and a Coils guard is 3 points or something.
Yeah, it's like when you think about how many, if you the difficulty in that is not the points, it's not the energy, it's coordinating the movement.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the choppers, although I don't understand how it's taken me 6 months or more to find out I've done a mistake on the attack choppers card. It's like, for some reason, it's movement
and with its close attack.
Yeah, and it's close attacks. It's like, what? How did that even happen? I don't even know how that happened. It's gone through 3 editors.
Because it's got a
So I don't know.
limit of 2. So it's the only vehicle that's actually got a close attack against bots. It's fantastic.
I don't know. It's like just nuts. I don't know how that even happened. Don't know how that happened. So have you been playing it as movement 4, Bjorn?
Absolutely not. I just assumed it was a mistake, and that it had like a normal movement of what, like 7 or 8 or something. I can't remember. I just based its movement off whatever heavy chopper's movement was.
Yeah. Oh, I don't. Yeah, crazy. I hate that sort of stuff, but yeah, it is what it is.
It makes for you.
The thing is, I think I just assumed, like, because I don't think I have ever said to you, "Oh, what's up with this?" kind of thing. And normally, I think I would have. So I don't know whether I've just like not looked at the card properly and just gone, "Oh, it moves the same as everything else," kind of thing. Or
it's weird that there's been others that I've made a mistake on where people immediate, like straight away, it was a mistake on this, mistake on that. But I actually never heard about that. And it was just like, and then it sort of came up like months and months and months after. And I'm like, oh crap. I didn't even notice. And I played the game with them. So I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know how that happened. So yeah, a bit bizarre.
So but stage for everybody who's playing with the chopper in their home games.
Yeah, people are looking at it. Gee, this is crap. It's got movement 4. It's like,
you heard it would be interesting to know if there's anyone there just inching it forward 4 at a time, 4 at a time. They're like, oh thank goodness this thing has jetpack.
Yeah. But I think the Coils have got a lot of units. Like I remember in the early days, I used to play Coils a lot, and I think I only ever used 2 bots ever in any of my Coils. It was always like infantry, helicopters, tanks, and the AVM. Which, like, let's face it, don't you always take the AVM?
I do.
I think. Yeah, bots wise, I only use like Slaughter, Fork Tongue, and then like Mineshaft, and I think that's about it.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, it's the choppers, ABM, the ABTs sometimes. Viper. Oh well, I used Dark State. I guess he's a bot. Because I like to run the ground to air missile.
Oh yeah,
so it's always
yeah. I used to use Deep State, and Raven.
Yep.
But Raven did die a lot with 4 damage. So I
can imagine.
I'm a bit of a fan.
But it was fast.
I'm a bit of a fan of the Deep State Fork Tongue combination. I think I've run that every time I've played you, Anthony. First time.
Yeah.
Sometimes
SR1, SR2.
Always ABM. For 15 points to get those 4 attack dice with a blast. Very, very useful. And then obviously we've always played 100-point units, so I've always used Conspiracy, which it had Anthony running scared even before he played Red Cannoneers, but they ended up proving a little bit too strong for poor old Conspiracy recently. But Conspiracy,
well, only because Conspiracy just deletes people.
Yeah,
he just deletes like warriors at close range. If you get a close range with him, it's like the Death Star, as I was saying. It's just like 1 bot per activation. Boom, boom, boom. And if you don't do something about it, then you can be in a lot of trouble with him.
He's got a lot of health and a lot of defense too. So you got to use something pretty exceptional to take him down as well. So it's either full-on ram attack, or it's got to be like a heavy caliber gun or an weapons overload to sort of take him down enough that when you get in and fight, it's going to get past those, 5 or 6 defense dice that he throws. Most normal attacks, you're going to have a lot of difficulty trying to take him out. unless, of course, you do what you were proposing before, just stack a whole heap of bots up around him in close attack. And you've got somebody like a Dukel and the like who comes in and finishes him off.
The only time I've had conspiracy, I've only run conspiracy like 2 or 3 times. Most of the time he just stands back, and as the opponent moves forward, he just goes, goodbye you, and just takes them all out as they try to inch closer to him. The only exception was playing against Trashers, and Trasher Saw came straight up towards him, and even though he hit Trasher Saw, I think twice, like shot him twice and got good numbers on him, it spread across all of them. So like it didn't take him down, and then he just got close enough that they dropped down, all the combiners dropped out, and just ram attack, and that took him out. I think after two or three ram attacks, and he was gone then.
They swarm attacked him, and it's an easy way to take him out, or a heavy caliber gun. Hey, Anthony.
Yeah. Oh, that was a pretty lucky shot. That was some good rolling there, actually. But don't forget, Heatsink had already been vaporized, so it was heavy caliber gun or nothing. So that was my last chance, really, because I think Maximus would have caused a fair bit of damage, like he did. No, he didn't. I think he caused 5 damage. So 5 damage, you probably would have picked him up and crushed him after that.
That was the plan.
Yeah. So if I hadn't used the heavy caliber gun, I would have been in a lot of trouble. He would have then been almost unopposed, just walking around deleting like various bots. Well
and truly. Unfortunately for me, and fortunately for you, that wasn't the case. But look, there's some great units in the Coils forces. Has anybody played Dr. Minecraft? Or
no, Mind Twist.
Mind Twist. I've got Minecraft on the brain, obviously. Mind Twist.
The only infantry I've played is Coils Guards. Just the basic Coils Guards. I stick them in, like I said, I stick one in Mole, I stick one in Heavy Chopper, and then I think I have another one just floating in the back line, kind of thing, just for extra cubes and just as a little surprise to drop them out, kind of thing here and there. I haven't played much of the other infantry. They do have a lot of special rules, a lot of the named character infantry, which is interesting. I don't know.
He's got mind read. That's pretty nasty. Stick him in Mole, and then mind read people. That's pretty nasty.
Well, that's where I was going with it, because I thought of what we were talking about before with Bjorn, and I was thinking that could be something that you could just pop up and then shut something completely down.
Yeah. He has to damage them for mind read to work, isn't it? Hang on, wait.
No, that's the mind read.
I'm thinking of the other one.
Mind control.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the other one. Mind read is the SR.
One. Yeah, that's right. It's just like, oh, yep, you can't
playing with your opponent's SR, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. But he's pretty pricey though for 4 damage. He's 11, and he's got loose circuits as well, so he's a bit crazy. So there is some drawbacks, but he does have repair, so that's good. And 3 energy.
Yeah, I guess the difference is, because I've always played 80-point games, that taking it up to the 100 points, like what you guys have been doing more, gives you more options to play like those slightly pricier guys that you can't quite warrant putting into 80 points.
That's true. I found that in our 100-point games, I'm still running the same number of characters, but I'm just spending that little bit extra. I feel a bit more comfortable about putting upgrades in as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like trying to like push every point. So I'm still sitting around sort of 6 to 8 models at 100 points, but they've got upgrades. They're all a bit more interesting. And so it's not really a huge increase in the number of models, which is sort of surprising. But yeah, that's
oh man. Do you still keep it at a 3x3 board size for your 100-point matches?
Yeah, because there's hardly any extra characters. Because I'm finding that that's what I was just saying is that I don't know about you, Mark, but I'm finding that I'm putting about the same number of characters in, but I'm just a bit more relaxed on what type of upgrades I have and what characters I choose. Like in 80 points, I might choose one major character and then just a bunch of support characters, then try and use those support characters to sort of push that main character forward. Whereas in 100 points, I'm chasing 2 or 3 major characters and chewing up those points, but then I've got more options on the actual battlefield. Do I push that person forward, or they all go together, or whatever? So I just think overall 100 points is better. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it gives you the option to use those pricier units, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, like you were saying, Bjorn with Conspiracy, because I mean he's 50 points.
Yeah.
So
I think I was running
your other 30 on.
Yeah, I think I was running Conspiracy 2. I think it was a jet and 1 bot, and then like a Coils guard or 2, and that's all I could fit into the 80 points.
Yeah,
and
and some of them will be batteries.
Once you lose 1 or 2 of those little guys, you just you can't contest any objectives anymore. I mean, the Coils guards you can't unless you have, what is it, 3 of them up there.
Yeah,
to do it. So I mean, they were literally just there for the cubes. But yeah, I think bringing the game up to 100 points really does open up the options of what you can use.
But it also, if you've got like 80 points and you've taken a sort of force with 80 points, and you come up against like the chances of coming up against a force that you can't, like it's going to be really hard to deal with, is greater because you've got less options, so you have to sort of go in one direction or the other. And so I find that at 80 the win-lose ratio is bigger. Like you either lost big or won big, because if someone, especially if you're taking blind lists where someone doesn't know what the other person's taken. Oh, I've taken Conspiracy. Oh, well, I've taken no one that can do anything about Conspiracy. So it's just like when you go up to 100, it's just like, well, I've at least got one person that can do something about this. So it's not sort of as black and white. I think that's what I found anyway. I find the games are closer at 100 points.
And I like the idea of people taking more of the upgrades, because really at 80 points you just there were a few upgrades that factions had that you took no matter what. Like I think for the Trashers there was a combat shield upgrade. You took that and gave that to someone every game, kind of thing, for them. But a lot of the time, I think the only times I really used, outside of like Beast Lords when they got the extra new upgrades kind of thing, outside of that, the only upgrades I ever really took was, my Valiant's force was a point or 2 under 80, so I took the 1 point upgrade for the extra
supercharge
movement. That kind of thing. I wasn't ever building a list going, I want to use this upgrade, I want to use that upgrade. It was always, I need to fit these dudes in. Do I have any points left, kind of thing. So,
and that's more feedback that I've got from you and Justin and the guys down there that on the upgrades. So you probably find that the upgrades have improved a lot throughout the guides, and there's more of them, and they're a bit cheaper.
I want to, when coming up with a list, I want to look at it and look at the upgrades and go, well, no, I want to fit that upgrade in. That's worth taking. I'll work that into it, kind of thing, rather than it being, I have points left, what can I get, kind of thing. So,
well, when I was so I know this is a Coils one, and we actually don't have that many upgrades in the Coils because it was the first faction guide that I did, so it only has the original 3 upgrades. But as the guides have progressed, you probably find that most guides now have 6 upgrades. The Red Cannoneers ones I know Jace did a review on the Red Cannoneers, and he only liked like one of the upgrades or something, which is actually the one that I didn't like the most, which was bizarre. But I found that I loved the advanced weapon chip because it was something completely different. It swapped stats, so I could just think of all the characters I could swap stats on. I mean, you just think people are expecting Code Red to have one close attack, but if you have advanced weapon chip, then he's not a very good shooter, but he's a killer in close attack. So makes a huge difference on certain models and things like that. So I think though in the Coils ones, we're still running with the older upgrades. Although Mark did use evil armor.
I did.
And it did actually save his life for a turn.
It did.
That's
on conspiracy.
The additional damage.
2 damage.
I think I've run that on conspiracy before.
Yeah.
Well, it takes him from 8 hit points to 10. Just gives you that little bit extra impact that you can take. Because you're going to take something because everybody's going to be gunning for it. Because you can't leave it out there. So it does tend to help. Look, in closing, in our last few minutes, I'm just going to go around the room and just ask what's people's final thoughts on the Coils faction. We'll start with Stuart.
I really like them. I like the style. I only have a small amount just from the starter set, but I have been looking at getting some more because I do quite like the idea of running my own conspiracy. It's a nice big model, and just to put that on the board in front of somebody who's not expecting this, I think that would be quite good for us.
They look at it in terror.
No, what's that?
Thank you. Bjorn, your final thoughts.
I think Coils is probably like the standard level of the factions. They're not hard to use, but they have enough depth in there that with enough tricks and stuff with the jets and everything that they can be a bit more of a surprise than what people are expecting from looking at them. So
They've got great diversity. Anthony, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I'd probably echo that with the diversity. I was actually just thinking that because I'm looking through the guide as we've been talking, and I'm just thinking there's just so many. We've talked about like Bjorn's talked a bit about a certain build, and you've talked about a certain build as well, Mark. But both of your builds are quite different, and I think there's at least another half a dozen viable builds in the Coils list that I haven't even tried yet. That diversity is pretty strong, and I think because what Bjorn says is correct in the sense of standard power level, you can take so many divergent lists through that sit around that standard power level. It's just about learning to play out. I think that a good player will be able to bring out some very odd Coils lists in the future. You just think I've not seen that before in Coils. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, I love Coils. I think they're a great force. I'll look forward to chatting more about it in future episodes. I'd like to thank Stuart, Bjorn, and Anthony for joining me here today for this Bot War inaugural chat session. About all things
it's been good.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll look forward to catching up with hopefully all of you with our next episode. But thank you all, and we'll get out there and play some more Bot War.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.